right? Ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals, horses and ponies, chickens and hens. May I have your attention, everybody here? All right, there we go. Anyway, welcome to this April meeting of the Hazel Park Amateur Radio Club. Well, first off, let's get started. We'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. The pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. God bless our troops. Okay. All right. So, okay. Just for those who keep track of such things, so today is the moon phases, and EME moon bouncing is just one of the things I'm interested in. I just thought maybe some other people are, but we are in what's called the waning gibbous. Our illumination is 64%. So here's what that means. So, what are we? We're the 8th. We're right there, right? Okay. So you can see you start with the full moon, right? And as it starts creeping in, the shadows start creeping in. So here we are. So we're almost about halfway there, almost in a couple of days. But anyway, that's what that's all about. But a project certainly worth pursuing. Anyway, okay. Next, thank you to the Hazel Park Memorial Library and everybody, all the people who work here and give us this room and encourage us and all that. So we're very grateful. We're very grateful for all that. All right. Next. So these are our board members. We're going to talk a lot about board members in a minute. So we'll do this real quick. We'll do that. What we want to do today, we have two main points. So one is we're going to talk about nominations for elections. It's that time of year again. But before we do that, we are going to have a terrific presentation by Wes AC8JF. Thank you. AC8JF. And so we're going to go through that first, and it's well worth it. All right, so member roll call. All right, so we go around. We used to pass a microphone around, but I guess we'll just do it now. We'll do a quick roll call. My name is Joe Rasnick, WB8ADX, and we'll start here, go this way, back and zigzag, back and forth.
Andrew, AJ0WF.
Ken, AD8M.
Wes AC8JF.
Vladimir, W8DE.
Les, KF8UU.
Drake, no license.
Bill, NAQBS.
Mayor NC, whatever airplane tail number you want to make up.
Mike, KB8JC.
Barb, no call sign.
Brendan, what are you doing?
Brent, KD8FBP.
Bob, N8REL.
Jim, WI8W.
Larry, K8LA.
All right.
8LXA.
LXA.
You make stuff up. It makes it easier.
Hi everyone, I'm Mildred, KF8FGY.
Jim, Foxtrot8, Alpha Tango Delta.
Bob, WB8ATZ.
David, KF8FGS. Brian, N8RLN. Mike, November 8, Victor Delta Zulu.
Dave, W8HOO.
And Kilo Echo 8 Sierra Juliet Whiskey.
You, KE8BED. Leonard, AD8FK.
And John, WATOY, can you organize? I'm not sure who's on the line with us here or on the Zoom there.
All right, I'll read it off. We have Marv, W5DT, Al, K8ALH, Art, K8ACW, J, WB8SBI, Jeff, KA8PHP, Mark, W8MAF, Marcia, N8FE, Scott, N8SY, Steve, NKKOM, and me, of course, John, W8TOY.
Wow, that's quite the crowd there we have today. Very nice. Very, very nice. Well, everybody, welcome.
10 remote participants.
Okay, excellent. What are we doing next? Oh, hold on. Hold on. Oh, okay. So these are our committees. In addition to the board members, we have our committees and our our leaders in the various committees. And we filled a few of the spots that were previously empty. All right. Next. Oh, so listen, folks. The Hazel Park Amateur Radio Club. You know, we run the dart, we do a lot of different things. We have our field day, we have our meetings and all that. So with all the excitement and the exciting things that are going on in the club, we haven't been really paying attention too much to getting our dues paid on time. So if you could just help us out a little bit here, we need to take care of that and make sure that gets done. We have the dart, we do our licensing classes, emergency readiness, of course, and technical mentoring. And here's where that money goes. Primarily the dart repeater, field day, license class, holiday parties, education, community service, and a site rent, power, and internet. So these are just some of the things and I will tell you, we have a terrific treasurer, long time keeping us right where we need to be. So please remember, if you haven't renewed, please renew. And if you know somebody interested who would like to join, we'd love to invite you in.
And Joe, would you make the announcement that we have the website payment, PayPal, up again?
Oh,
You know, we had to have it shut down for a while because we were being spammed, but it's up and working now, and I've seen just in the last few weeks, I've seen a couple of payments come through. So.
that is terrific news, Bob. Thanks for that update. Really terrific news. Okay,
It was not working when I was trying it this morning.
Hold on, stand by. Who's
Master back here said he thought it was disabled.
So I was asking for emails on that. We'll talk about it offline.
okay?
I tried to pay this morning, and Hugh has the check. I gave him the check because it did not accept anything.
Okay, we'll keep working at it then. Great.
Yeah, pay by check.
A check. I remember what that is, right? With the register and all that. All right, and of course, don't forget our club. Right now, we're kind of in limbo, but don't forget that we have our amateur classes, technician class, which is on Tuesdays, general class on Mondays, and the extra class. We're gunning for that extra class to start up again there soon. So we'll keep that in mind. But in the meantime, I showed this slide before, but we need to get ourselves organized here because everything's new. The material, although you can still use paper, but it gets printed out, it's an electronic thing. So we'll need to get with the education committee there and figure out how that's going to affect us. So there. So exam tools. It's called the exam tool systems. And we need to migrate to that, get that all up and running, and so on and so forth. So,
Hey, Joe?
yes, please.
We have a really great guy running our testing right now. And he happens to be in the room right now. And any question on testing, we could maybe ask him.
Well, I think that's a great intro, and it's really, really important. I mean, it is really one of the most important things that we can do here, and it helps keeps our numbers up. But Jim, you haven't. What do we know? Like we're kind of in the middle here. Our club needs to transfer over to the new exam tools. Have you used them, and do they work? And are you happy with them? Oh, you haven't. Yeah.
There's what's that guy's name? Chuck?
Chuck Terrell.
Yeah, he does a lot of online testing.
Okay.
And he knows the exam tools.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, but I was just gonna do paper. All you have to do is I can download the test,
Right.
and the templates will still work on the test that I download,
Oh, okay,
so I can still do everything in person.
okay.
And you just submit it. I scan all the like last night. I just scanned all the papers last night.
Oh, great story, by the way. Tell everybody about the 12-year-old kid.
We had a 12-year-old yesterday, and came with his dad. He passed the technician and the general.
He aced the technician.
Yeah, he aced that. He had one wrong on the general.
On the general, he had one wrong.
One wrong on the general. And he had about 50% on the extra.
Yeah.
Good for him. Good for him. Good for him. Well, it just goes to show.
And everything. And I
Yeah.
paperwork for the club.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, okay.
So he's really interested. His dad doesn't really know amateur radio, but the kid loves it.
Really picked it up. Well, it'd be great to get him involved, and we'd like to build up our
paperwork for it.
Great,
Hopefully
terrific.
he'll get in touch with us.
Oh, that's fabulous. Yeah. All right. Well, very good.
Like I said, I used to do a lot of testing for USICA. I was their main testing guy, and then they kind of fizzled out.
Right. Right.
And then I was helping out with Lance Cruz, and I got them going.
Yeah.
So now I'm here.
Excellent. Well, we're so glad you are. Great. Thank you. It's yeah. All right.
He mentioned he was president of another radio club.
Uh-oh. Competitor?
USICA. I was president for a while.
Oh.
Mike got this room.
Is that right?
Yeah, Mike got us.
Oh, right. Excellent.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, we test right here.
Yeah. Then we did testing yesterday. So we test on the even.
No kidding.
And then we alternate with Lance Cruz. Lance Cruz does the odd months.
Yeah.
So it works out really good. There's always somebody on the east side testing.
Oh, that's
And
great.
it gives us a break.
Well, in honor of that, we're going to create a new slide just for that.
Oh,
okay.
cool. I like slides.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Anyway, so, testing is important. The motto, our club motto, service through education.
Yep.
All right, next. It's just something I like to show this. We did the survey. Len pulled it together, and these are just some of the interests that our membership has. And as we move forward into the next year, especially, and the rest of this year, finishing things up, we're going to keep these topics in mind, and we'll get some good speakers and maybe some activities as well. All right, so we're going to come back to this. We're going to talk about board elections are coming up next month, elections. But in order to have elections, we have to have nominations. So we're going to talk about the nominations in a second. So work with me here for a second. Let me just jump ahead. I don't know why my computer is not cooperating today. I'm not sure why that is, but hold on. So okay. So I'm just going to have to jump ahead. So let me just do that because I was hoping that I could get the oh, there we go. Okay. Well, how about that? All right, what am I doing here? Hold on. Okay. So, with that, there we go. So, Wes, AC8JF, Digital Communications, right? So, Wes is going to give it, this is a great presentation.
All right, I'm Wes Pluff, AC8JF, and tonight's talk is called Getting the Most Out of FT8. And I want to ask, can the people who are on Zoom see the slides?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of the screen?
What does it say? What does it say on the slide?
Getting the most out of FT8.
We're good, okay. All right.
Hold on.
Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so you probably know what FT8 is, but it's many things to many people. It's a weak signal mode at the bottom of the sunspot cycle. It was really some days the only way you could make QSOs. It's one of the easiest digital modes to use. It's got communication protocol based on what NASA uses to talk to satellites out between the planets. And it's also drawn criticism. Now, I'm old enough to remember when hams were complaining that single sideband was ruining ham radio and appliance operators were ruining ham radio. Well, now it's FT8 is ruining ham radio. One of the criticisms is it turns ham radio into a game, and I actually agree, but I say it's a game of skill. And so tonight's goal is upping your game a little bit. So I want to start with a show of hands. How many people have used FT8 more than twice? Oh, less than half of you. Okay. How many people have worked all states with FT8? Okay. All right. So no, with FT8. Okay, so you're my audience definitely. I'm not even going to ask about DXCC. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit at the beginning about hardware and software, and then how to set things up and what to do once you're on the air, and what to do when things are not working so well. And then a little bit about what's out there besides sort of vanilla FT8. So first of all, I want to mention hardware. It's really simple. If you have a transceiver that's capable of single sideband and a sound card interface to go between analog and digital audio and a computer, you can run FT8. I have a 15-year-old laptop that barely runs Windows 10, and I have no problem running all the software I'm going to talk about tonight. So, but one thing I want to mention about hardware is a very common problem, and that is sometimes, sometimes you may notice that if you're running digital mode, or even if you're not, the cat control to the rig may quit working all of a sudden, or the audio interface may quit working all of a sudden. The problem is usually RF in the shack, and I cannot recommend too highly getting ferrites on your USB cables to keep RF out of your computer. There are some possibilities on because it's got ferrites molded in, and it does a great job in my shack. At the lower left, you can see that that's a sound card interface, and it comes with cables where the ferrites are already molded in. You can wrap cables around cores, and there are other things you can do. There are clamp-on ferrites. So I just want to mention that as the most common hardware problem. But I'm mostly going to talk about software tonight, and going to hit two of the hot topics, digital modes and using computers. To run FT8, you need two pieces of software. One is something that sends and receives FT8, obviously. Another is your computer's clock has to be synchronized to UTC, Zulu time. And then I'm going to talk a lot about helper software that helps you focus and organize what you're doing, and maybe gives you a better chance of talking to that rare one you want to make a QSO with. So WSJTX is the brainchild of Professor Joe Taylor, who's in his mid-80s now. He retired from being a professor of astronomy, and as his hobby, he has been working on weak signal modes for things like moon bounce and meteor scatter communications. And sometime, I think about 7 or 8 years ago, he released FT8, which was a collaboration with a couple other guys as a mode for WSJTX. For time synchronization, FT8 and the other weak signal modes require your clock to be synchronized within 1 second of UTC, Zulu time, so that excuse me, so that the decoder will work. The decoder will be able to decipher your signal because, as I say, it's all on a timed basis in WSJT. You probably noticed that your computer sort of magically knows what time it is all the time. And the way it does it is it calls into a server that has a very accurate clock called Network Time Protocol, or NTP, which, by the way, was invented by a radio ham. What happens is your computer's client software and the server connected to the accurate clock exchange messages, and using the timestamps, your computer can figure out how far its clock is off from the server's clock and then makes adjustments. It's really nifty, but the thing to know is Windows has a time service, but it only calls home once a week. And that's not nearly often enough. So you need to install an NTP client on your computer. And I've listed the 5 most common ones. The first two have features for amateur radio, including operating portable when you don't have an internet connection. You can use a GPS receiver, about a $12, $15 module connected to your computer. And one of these, I think JT Sync will let you use the timestamps in WSJTX and tweak your clock. Net time, the one in the middle, is the easiest to use. And then the last two are professional utilities, that the companies that give them away for free want you to buy their time servers. I want to mention, by the way, that all of the links I talk about tonight, and a lot of the information I'm going to, at the end of the talk, give you a link to the internet where you can download a resource sheet for FT8. So you don't have to write down any of this stuff or take pictures or anything like that. If you run Linux, there's an NTP. NTP comes as part of most distributions, and it may already be set up when you first load your computer, or if it isn't, it's not difficult at all to get it running in client mode. Macintosh users, you can just click on the date and time settings and set date and time automatically, and your Macintosh will go out, I think, about every 20 minutes to a time server. So things are very accurate. Now, WSJTX wants your time to be synchronized within 1 second of UTC. With all of these things, and over the fast internet most of us have today, you can get within about 100 milliseconds or even better. So how do you tell if your time is accurate? If you are interested in seeing how close you are, there are 2 easy ways to do it. One is to go to a website called time.is. It's in Iceland, but it will tell you what your local time is, and it will also tell you right above that how far off your computer clock is. It'll make an estimate with some uncertainty. But if the number it gives you and the uncertainty are both under a 1/10 of a second, then you're good. You're really good. The other thing you can do on the WSJT screen, next to every call sign, there is a column called DT, and that tells you how far off the other guy's timing is from yours. And if you see a lot of 0.1 and 0.2 seconds in that column, then your timing is very good also. And most of that 100 or 200 milliseconds that you're seeing on the screen is because of RF propagation time from the distant stations. Okay, so I want to talk about helper software now. There are programs you can run that WSJT presents screens that are all full of scrolling text. These helper programs organize things visually. They put stations in alphabetical order. You can see at a glance what things are doing. You can also filter information. So if you're looking for instance, if you're looking for Delaware or North Dakota to complete your worked all states, you can filter for that. You can filter for who's calling CQ, things like that. So those are visual aids, the visual helpers. And they also go out over the internet and they add information. The FT8 messages tell you the other guy's call sign and his grid square, and and your received signal strength at his end, and that's pretty much it. But JT Alert will add things like the state the other station is in, even when the guy has an out of area call, like a W5 here in 8 land. It looks at a list of on a call sign site, and you can optionally, if you have a paid subscription, connect this to QRZ, and I suspect it will give you even more information. So let's look for a minute about what is on the JT Alert screen. There are two windows, and the top one here with the two lines there give you information about the last station that you worked or that you were listening to. And in this case, when I took this snapshot, I was listening to a guy in Angola, and the call sign reference site didn't have any real information about him. But if you get somebody stateside, it will give you more information. On the bottom window, I got divided into 3 panes, and you can rearrange this as you like. But the top one is all the decodes that are coming in, and it will tell you by color coding if you want the country or the state. It will tell you who's calling CQ. And then at the bottom left, if somebody is calling me, I'll see it pop up in that pane. And on the bottom right is people who are calling CQ or stations that I haven't worked their state or country before.
So, a laser pointer on.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. There.
All right. Well, I'll have to figure that out then. All right.
Yeah, I should right there. Just push that button.
This guy.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. All right. All right. So, also JT Alert, if you hover over one of those panes, it will open up and tell you everything it knows, including all the stuff it gets from WSJT and all the stuff it gets on the internet. If you run Macintosh, there's a program called JT Bridge that does pretty much all the non-graphical parts of what JT Alert does. If you run Linux, there's something called Alarm JT, which is a French program, but it does come in an English version that was based on JT Alert. And then there's something called Grid Tracker that runs on Windows, Linux, and Macintosh. And I want to show you that for a minute. Grid Tracker has a couple of windows. The one on the left will show you what grids are active. It can also show you what grid squares you've already worked. And then just to the right of that, and you can zoom the map in and out from a handful of grids all the way to the whole world. And just to the right of that is the control panel for Grid Tracker, and I'll talk more about that in just a second. The right-hand pane is a list of either of all the decodes that you just got on the last reception cycle, or a little more organized. Excuse me, or a little bit more organized. And then you can also set that to filter or to see what you worked or what you need for any particular award. And stuff like that. There are a whole bunch of options that I'm not going to get into in detail. About the control panel, all the controls are, instead of menu items, there are those little buttons at the bottom center there. And that's something that I don't particularly like because it's got a whole bunch of colors and it's all buttons and, it's a busy screen. But that's my preference and maybe not yours. Both JT Alert and Grid Tracker are very stable and reliable. And as I say, all this software does not put a whole lot of load on your computer. So once you have these things working, you have to figure out how to connect to logging programs. And for some logging programs and these pieces of software, it's very easy. It might be just 2 or 3 steps to configure it. For some, I use Logger 32 for my main logger, and it is complicated to say the least. But in this case, it helps to read the documentation for both pieces of software that you're trying to connect, the logger and whatever connects to it, which could be WSJT, it could be one of the helper programs. The other thing is, it helps if you're using different configurations of software. For instance, for contest, I use a contest logger, and in fact, we do that on field day as opposed to a general purpose logger, and I don't use a helper program. It helps to create different configurations in WSJT so that you can switch over to using whichever configuration of software that you need, and it's pretty easy once you've done that once, just to change the configurations. Oh, sorry. So, okay. So you can see, if I can do this right, you can see in the upper left, one of the menu items is configurations, and you can see I've got 3 of them. The TS570 is the rig I don't use, but for a field day, I just switch from my normal IC7300 to connecting to the N1MM logger with the IC7300 instead. Anyway, that's something that's useful if you ever decide to play with different rigs. Okay. One thing you'll notice is that the screens can get pretty crowded. There's several busy screens. On here, you can see I took a picture of my setup at home after cleaning up my desk. And you can see that here is WSJT, or some of it, and here's the waterfall part of WSJT, and here is the loggers sort of half hidden behind WSJT, and these two at the top are JT Alert, and you can see they take up a lot of real estate. It is worth fooling around, moving things around. You can change the shape of JT Alert screens. I think you can change the shape of Grid Tracker screens. So it's really useful to have a second monitor when you're running FT8 to fit all of this stuff in, and it's really worthwhile when you're not busy to try fiddling around a little bit and see if there's some arrangement you like better. And there's one other problem I want to mention here, and that is when the band is busy, you'll see the decodes scroll up in the left-hand pane, because WSJT decodes everything in the audio passband. That can be 20, 30, 40 stations if the band is busy. One thing to do is look at putting the main WSJT window in whichever your monitors is taller, so you can see more lines of decoding, and that way you're less likely to see something scroll right up off the screen that you want to look at. Those are practical things to look at. For the configuration, the way to configure WSJT to get the best results is to in the center at the bottom there, where all the controls are, is to check hold TX frequency, which means that your transmit frequency always stays the same. And a couple slides in, I'll get to why. Auto sequence, which means that once you've started a QSO with somebody, WSJT goes through the whole message sequence automatically. And all you really need to do is watch and then click the log QSO button when it's done. And then CQ first means that if you're calling CQ, WSJT will answer the first station that it decodes automatically. There's also one where it will answer there's also an option that you can try later where it will answer the station that's calling back to you from the most distant grid square. So that's something you can play with. And then at the top, there's a menu item for decoding. And what you want to do is you want to set it to normal, which should be good enough. And if you don't have any problems with software being slow, and you can try the deep option. You want to leave the enable AP choice at the bottom unchecked. You don't need that for FT8. What that does is it increases the sensitivity of the decoder, but it also means more errors in decoding. You don't want to play with that. So let's see here. So the thing about WSJT is the software does all the work for generating and receiving and decoding FT8 signals. That means you want your radio to be set to be as linear as possible in the transmit path and in the receive path. And there are a whole bunch of things you can do here. Normally, you would set your radio to upper sideband, or if it has a data mode, you use that, because usually if you have a data mode, that means that all these other things you can set once and forget and then go back to whatever you want for voice for a single sideband when you're done. Use the widest single sideband bandwidth, which is normally 2.7 or 3 kilohertz. And I'll talk about that a little bit later too. Turn off any audio equalization, turn off AGC if you have a choice, or use its fast setting so that the levels don't fluctuate a lot. Turn off your noise blanker, turn off speech processing, turn off audio compression, turn off any notch filter, turn off noise reduction. Now on newer transceivers, noise reduction is pretty good, and it may actually help you in a noisy band, but start with noise reduction turned off. And then later, once you play around some, you can play around with noise reduction on and settings and so forth. And that the last two, you want to make sure that when you're transmitting in digital mode, no microphone audio goes out over the air. That's a big FCC no-no, because you're down in the CW and data part of the band. Some transceivers, that's just automatic, and some transceivers, you have to unplug the mic. And then also, single sideband transceivers are not designed for full power with key down, so to speak. And with FT8, you're transmitting for 13.5 seconds. So what people do is normally they transmit at 20 to 50% of full power. It depends, but the idea is if you're transmitting 13.5 seconds out of every 30 at full power, you run the risk of overheating the final amplifier stage of your transceiver. So I usually run with my IC7300 and with the TS570 for it. I run usually 30 to 35 watts, and I do just fine. I've contacted Australia and New Zealand with that amount of power. But that's something to watch for. Okay, so another thing is you're trying to get all this hardware and software to cooperate, and sometimes it's a little bit tricky. And what you want to do first, this may sound dumb, but what you want to do first is try a sequence for turning things on. First the radio, then the sound card interface. Well, first the computer, then the radio, then the sound card interface, if it has an on-off switch, and then WSJT, and then JT Alert, any helper program, and then the logging program last, and then shut down the software. When you go back to normal mode, shut down the software in the opposite order. And this works for most transceivers and combinations of software. But the idea is to do the same sequence that you never get any problems. If you run into problems, you have to look and see if there's some dependencies on what's running first. And to give you some idea, the N1MM contest logger that we use at Field Day, we found out that to use it with FT8, you can't do things in this sequence. You have to do it a little differently. So this is not a hard and fast rule here, but it's something that should work for normal operation. You want to set your audio levels to be about 50, 60 dB on receive. There's an indicator at the lower left of the WSJT screen. And the way you do that is through controls on the radio. For starters, you should start with RF gain as the normal place and then set AF gain. And if there's a level control on the audio interface, you can use that too. But after that's set to give you about 50, 60 dB on the indicator, then use RF gain. Use RF gain if the signal levels are too high or potentially too low. And if they're too low, this vertical bar will change color. Green is good, yellow is too low, red is too high. Okay. Audio levels on transmit, you have to sort of go the other way. The audio level on transmit is set by the slider on the right-hand side of the SJT controls. And what you need to look at on your transmitter is the ALC meter. And the idea, again, is to keep the signal as linear as possible, not introduce distortion. So what you should do is make sure you're looking at ALC, set your transmitter to low power, into a dummy load or on a dead band, like 80 meters at midday or 10 meters in the middle of the night. And you can use the tune button just to send out a single tone, and you can adjust the slider so that the ALC meter needle barely moves. And depending on your transceiver, you may need a little bit of ALC to transmit at all, or you may not. So for mine, I set it just below the level where the ALC meter moves, and I don't have any problems. So, and then you click, when you're done, you just click the tune button again and you go back to receive. Not a big deal. So now I want to talk about finding the right frequencies, transmit frequencies. Remember, I said that WSJT decodes everything that's in your audio passband, and usually single sideband transceivers have audio from 300 to 2700 or 3000 hertz. So you want to set your transmit frequency there. And I've marked these bands above the waterfall are things that I added just for the slide. The green area from 500 to about 2500, you're good. The yellow bands that are at the edges of the passband, you want to use with caution, especially at the high end, because the other guy's passband may be narrower than yours. And then the red areas are outside the area where you would normally transmit or receive, and your transmit signal will be attenuated, and what you receive will also be attenuated there. The other thing is you want to choose a transmit frequency where on the waterfall, nobody is transmitting or else the signals are very weak. And I've marked a few places here. I've marked a few places with the black arrows. And so you just monitor for a while and see where nobody else is transmitting, at least that you can hear. And then you do a shift click to set you set the mouse to above one of these empty zones, and do a shift click to set the transmit frequency, which is this little red inverted U here. And then there is a frequency control. There's a frequency control down in the control section of the main window if you want to tweak the frequency by a few hertz. One thing that you will notice one thing that you may notice is that on this waterfall display, very strong signals will appear to splatter into adjacent frequencies. The the FT8 transmission is only 60 hertz wide, and some signals will look very wide on the waterfall, but that is the way the waterfall works, and the guy at the other end is probably transmitting a clean signal. So that's just something to watch out for. And so if you don't think anybody is transmitting next to this really strong guy, you can go there. For receive frequency, normally when you're contacting somebody or trying to contact somebody, then WSJT automatically sets the receive frequency, and you can see what he's doing in the right-hand pane of the main window. Sometimes you want to monitor a station if there's a rare one. Well, again, Delaware or South Dakota that you want to talk to, and there's a busy band. You can set WSJT to look at what's happening with that one station, except that the software isn't very good at it. So it's really a two-step process. One is to look on the station, on the decode window on the left, and to the left of the call sign, you'll see, you'll see this column where it says frequency. And so, like this guy in Angola was calling on 2445 hertz. And so I put my mouse up here just to the left of 2500 and clicked, and that set the receive frequency, which is this green U, and then I could see all the traffic to and from him on the right-hand side. So that's a good way to filter out so that you can see what he's doing and be ready to call him when he calls CQ again. Operating practices are a lot like practices on CW or sideband. And the important thing is, and this is especially true for FT8, you don't own any frequency. And what you'll find pretty typically is that once you've been on a frequency for a transmit frequency for 10 minutes, say, you'll be listening in between QSOs and suddenly somebody else is on that same frequency. That is not a big deal, and the thing to do is to QSY, choose another open slot. You should, and all the advice about getting on the air says, listen. Well, you don't want to listen to FT8 signals, but you do want to monitor that screen and get a feel for what's happening. Is the band crowded? Is it empty? Are people having an easy time making QSOs? Are you seeing a lot of incomplete QSOs where somebody is calling the same guy over and over and over partway through, with his signal report or something like that. So get a feel. You want to, if you're transmitting, if you're making QSOs, you want to pause every few minutes to see if somebody else has gone onto your transmit frequency. You want to not respond on the same frequency as the other station. That's why I said that TX hold setting was right for a good reason, and that is people do that every so often. I think maybe 1 in 10 QSOs that I have on FT8, somebody will come back to me and he'll be right on my transmit frequency. You don't want to do that, though, because if there are, WSJT is real good about decoding all the signals in a band, but if you've got two stations that are on the top of each other and interfering, it's not as good, and chances are neither of you will get through. So the idea is stay on that clear frequency in the audio passband. And because WSJT decodes all of the signals it receives, the other guy will hear you just fine, even if you're at the other end of the audio band from where he is. Now, usually you should wait for the other station to call CQ, but if he's real busy, if you see him send 73 or RR73 to end the previous QSO, you can try calling him just after that. You don't want to transmit if you're trying to answer somebody calling CQ and his next transmission, he is talking to a different station. you want to not transmit, and you do that by clicking on the enable button, or if your rig has already started transmitting, there's a stop TX button right next to it that'll get you off the air. The other thing to do is, if you're not getting through, don't send endless responses. If you don't get an answer or you can't move the QSO forward in 4 or 5 tries, you got to move on. When the other guy can't hear you, there are only a few things you can do. He may be getting a lot of noise or a lot of interference at his end that you can't hear. He may be somebody that you can't hear may be on your same transmit frequency, and he's hearing both of you at his end. Maybe he's working a lot of stronger stations. What you can do is change your transmit frequency to another open slot if you can't get through on where you are. But other than that, sometimes you just have to move on to the next QSO. Sometimes you just won't get through. And that can be frustrating, but since it's all machine to machine, there's not much you can do. I want to talk very briefly about working de-expeditions. There's a mode called Fox and Hound, where a de-expedition, you can see on a de-expedition will be transmitting between 300 and 500 hertz, and he'll be listening above 1000 hertz. Usually the de-expedition will be on a different frequency from the standard FT8 frequencies. Excuse me. And so what you'll see is either at the top list here, you will see that the same guy is working 2 different stations on 2 different frequencies, or even 3 or 4 different frequencies. If you see that, you want to go, there's a little button marked H just to the right of the receive level meter, and you want to click on that to get into hound mode. So he's the fox, you're the hound. If your transmit frequency is above 1 kilohertz, then he will get around to you. The way I understand it is fox and hound mode. The fox will queue up answers to his CQ, or will queue up a number of stations that are calling him. So you don't have to keep calling him. He may get around to you eventually, or if he doesn't, then you try again. But that's different. And then there's a different piece of software that will do FT8 mode, and it does something called multi-stream, where the same guy can talk to 2 stations at once. You can see here, this last line at the bottom, this guy in V4 land is saying 73 to a Brazilian, and he is giving a signal report to a Spaniard. If you see that, also go into hound mode, and you'll be able to talk to him. Now, multi-stream mode happens in the normal FT8 allocations, but you will see that from time to time. Okay, so let's see here. We're getting close to the end. There are a couple more modes, about 3 slides to go. There are a couple more modes. Oh, and FT8 also, I'm sorry, WSGT also supports contests, but I'm going to skip over that because it gets a little involved, and we have a business meeting still to do. There's also FT4 mode, which is twice as fast as FT8. So you've got 7.5 seconds for a message cycle. And it was designed for contesting so that it takes less time to complete a QSO, but also you'll find that often the FT4 frequencies are less busy than the FT8 frequencies. So say it's the middle of the afternoon and 20 meters is chock full of FT8 signals. Go over to FT4, you'll have an easier time making QSOs, although you have to react a little bit faster. And then there's also FT2. Ham in Italy said, well, FT4 is not fast enough, so I'm going to double the speed again. So you have a message cycle of 3 3/4 seconds, and you have almost no time to react to initiate an answer. So the official developers of WSJT take a dim view of this. Now, whether it's a gimmick or a way to do contesting and DXing better, I can't tell you, but it's out there. WSJT also does a lot of other modes for meteor scatter, moon bounce, for working very slow communications on the 2200 and 640 meter bands below the broadcast band, AM broadcast band. And you may want to look at those sometime, but those are not nearly as popular as FT8. And they tend to be fairly specialized. There are also measurement tools as part of WSJTX. And one tool that I find very useful is frequency calibration. It sets your transceiver to look at time standard stations plus any AM broadcast stations that you add to the list. So it listens to WWV and CHU, and I have mine configured to also listen to WJR 760 AM. And it sets the VFO 1 kilohertz below the carrier frequency of each station, and then measures the audio frequency, that's the audio beat frequency. And it is very good. It can give you enough information to tell you how well calibrated you are down to the 1 hertz level on each of the bands of your transceiver. And it's something to fool with. There's also other software that will work FT8 mode. And one of them is WSJT-X Improved, which has a taller window where you're reading all the decodes on the band. There's Decodium, which is the Italian guy who implemented FT2. The next two are sort of parallel development to WSJT that emphasize the VHF modes, the scatter modes, moon bounce, and so forth. There's also a program called JS8 call, and it uses FT8 signaling to send text messages very, very slowly. So those things are out there. Okay, I'm going to wind up here. If I haven't told you enough and crammed your brain full, then there are some other places you can go for more information. There's obviously the WSJTX user manual, which is very detailed and very thick, and comes with the software. There's the ZL2 IFB FT8 operating guide, and the guy has moved back to England, so that's why the URL has a G for has the G4 call sign in the site name. But at any rate, that's been the go-to guide for years for working FT8, and it goes over all the things I've just mentioned and a lot more. It's very practical. There's an ARRL book called Getting on the Air with HF Digital, and it's in its 3rd edition, and it includes a lot of information about FT8, but also other digital modes. And then all the stuff I've talked about tonight, all the links to software and what have you, I've created a resource sheet. So if you want to get that, go to tinyurl.com HPFT8R, which I think might make a good license plate. Anyway, that will give you all the links that I have on the slide, so you don't have to watch this again or bug me about it. So what I hope you learned tonight are some tips for setting up, for operating practices, and how to use FT8 in some more difficult situations, or at least not be afraid of them. So with that, I'm going to be finished and ask for questions. Anybody? Yeah, go ahead.
When you're using the JT alert,
yeah,
is that running alongside WSGTX, or is that connected to it?
It's connected to it.
Okay.
How do I stop sharing here?
Sure.
I'll stop it for you. I'll stop it for you.
Oh, well, one of us is. So you can see my pretty face.
What are you trying? Oh,
There we go. Okay. The way JT Alert and Grid Tracker work and all these other helper programs are, they take information from WSJT and they interpret it. So what happens is you'll see the decodes and then you'll see the same information pop up on the JT Alert windows. So they're connected, and then for most loggers, the sequence of information is WSJT to the helper program to the logger. Although that doesn't work for all logging programs. And I go into some detail on the status sheet. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping you were gonna answer.
Okay, a couple more, please.
Would there be a way to revisit any of these slides that you present?
Our club meetings are put on YouTube. So if you wait a few days, John W8TOI is going to put it on YouTube. Anybody else? Yeah, Ken.
In the past, noticed every once in a while, I actually get a text response from somebody that might say, thank you for your contact or whatever.
Yeah.
And we'll read out. You made no mention of that.
There is something you can do to set up and transmit custom messages. So yeah, sometimes people will say, people will say as their last transmission after you've said 73, thanks a lot, 73. Sometimes they'll say, sometimes they'll say your clock is off.
I've never got that.
Things like that. But yeah, you can set custom messages, and that's an advanced topic. All right, well, I'll say thank you, and it's not quite half an hour.
Well,
But
thank you.
I tried.
Well, as you mentioned, started asking us who's used FT8 before, and I'm thinking, well, when was the first time I ever used FT8? I'll tell you when the first time I ever used it. It was on field day. We showed up, and there was some party going on. So we ended up at Ken's house for field day. We covered the pool table, and then you and I were 2 stations right next to each other. And the first time I ever ran FT8 was sitting next to you. Yeah, so you've been at it a long time. So terrific, very nice. All right. Okay, next. So thank you. Thank you very much. Questions? Yes, I have many questions. Let me see what I can do here.
That is, if people want help setting up or resolving problems, there are people in the club who actually do know about FT8, including me. So feel free to get in contact with me, and I'll help get you going.
All right, so so we want to take a look at some of the election stuff, which I have here somewhere.
For the beginning.
That's right, and of course, okay, here we go. So, of course, this is a motley crew here. Our current board members from 2025, 2026. So I'm going to need a little help here. I'm going to ask Len and
Say we're due,
David.
we have a good club here and a lot of good people, and we don't know everybody's background. A good way to be part of the club, a very functional part of the club, and work your way into the board, we hope, is to be a part of a committee. Pick your committee, whatever committee you like to be a part of, you know. Maybe Bob will have you on a finance committee, maybe. And pick a committee that you'd like to be a part of. The education committee. Bob's also part of the education committee. Why aren't you involved in, Bob? And Jim, he's involved in testing and training, and we've always got room for mentors. So pick a committee that you'd like to be involved in, and we'll work you into the club, into the board eventually, right?
Absolutely, really, it's really essential. That's what keeps the club moving forward there. All right, well, thank you, Len. And Dave has volunteered to help us with the election process and guide us through all this. So that's what's coming up. So what we're going to do this week, elections are actually next month. But we're going to, what are we gonna do? We're gonna have, nominations. Thank you, that's the word. Okay, I do want to just ask one thing. Do we need to do anything, Bob, with this? Were we supposed to vote on something, or are we good with the?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay, so I just,
Any comments on that?
oh, yeah. Okay, excellent. All right, so then we'll just move on here. So this is quickly what election night's going to look like, but I don't want to take a lot of time because we want to get through this here, and I think we'll be right on schedule. But again, here's our motley crew of that. Now, if so, how do we do this, Dave? So if we start with the director and work ourselves up, is that what we'll do? So our current director, Dave, W8HOO, is our current director and is going to volunteer to help us with the election. So the director provides the quorum for all board meetings and keeps an inventory list of all the equipment owned by the club, which, by the way, reminds me, I should have made a slide on this. We're trying to get all our inventory in line, and everybody has a few pieces here and there. And I know Bill has a whole garage full of stuff belonging to the truck, to the club. So we'd like to get our inventory ducks in a row, but that's another subject. So
There's some stuff for sale over here.
oh, good point. That's right. Right over here. Thank you, Hugh. Right on the table over there. So take a look through that and we'll get that on the way. Now, we have our law, we have something called bylaws and we have something called the handbook. So I try to summarize what both say, and they're pretty much in line with each other. There's a few things different, but anyway, so Dave, so now Dave is gonna step to the side. So this is gonna be an open position. So we'll take nominations for that. And my procedure etiquette may not be perfect here, but so how do we do that? We would say,
Up front. Is there anybody who would like to nominate somebody? You can accept or reject. If they're not here, we can send them an email to ask them if they accept or reject. Is there anybody here who would like to nominate somebody to be the director?
You can also nominate yourself.
You can also nominate.
I have a nomination. I would say that of all people, Andrew Johnson would make a perfect director. And I nominate Andrew Johnson, AJ0. That's right. I get caught up with AJ. I don't know, 5. Is it 5? Is it 0? I'm still like, all right. Anyway, AJ0, WX. So and anybody second that nomination? Second. Okay. So we,
Mike for director.
oh, okay. We would like to nominate Mike, NHVDZ, for director. Okay.
Full competition.
Well, you got it. That's what makes the election season so much fun, right?
Andrew, did you pass up in person?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second Mike's nomination.
All right. So we have a second for Mike. We have a second for Andrew. So it's going to be a tough competition there. Okay. So our next position that we have is a long-standing parliamentarian who's done over the years just a fabulous job for the club, keeps us in order here, making sure all our club meetings are conducted orderly within Robert's rules, which was invented in 1876, interestingly enough. And so you can see here that our meetings are conducted safely and orderly within the framework of the bylaws. So there you go. By the way, the parliamentarian, it will be the duty of the parliamentarian to keep this handbook, a copy of the official bylaws of the Hazel Park Amateur Radio Club, and to have the same with the elected at all regular and special meetings. So there you go. So
I'm gonna make a nomination.
please.
If it isn't broken, don't fix it. I nominate you for.
Absolutely, I second that. Well, there we go. We have a second over there. Very good. All right, all right. All in favor? Oh, do we do that? No, sorry, never mind. Okay, very good. All right, so we have that. All right, our next position.
Is there any other parliamentary?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Advice? Done.
Okay. All right, then we have our secretary who he's not here tonight. He's with his family, but has also done a great job over the years, keeping minutes of the meeting and is responsible for letting us know when activities are going on and so on and so forth. So also the custodian of corporate records, and he keeps a name and addresses of each of the officers, of each member, officer, and director. So there you go. So that's that. So do we have any nominations for secretary?
I'll nominate Ruben.
Reuben,
Second.
and second that? Okay, second that. All right, Reuben, we'll let him know. Okay, very good. Next,
Who's the second there, sorry?
second, who's second, Reuben? Bob, good.
Who first then?
Oh,
Motioned it. Oh, I motioned it. I'm sorry.
Bob motioned.
Yes, second, I motioned it. My other personality seconded it.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, we're moving along here. And of course, our treasurer, where would we be? Where would we be?
Yeah, really.
Donna.
Hey, Bob.
All right, we have a nomination for Bob.
Second.
If someone else is interested,
I'm sure you would.
please, don't be shy.
The trick is you gotta volunteer to do the election and you do.
All righty, all right. Second,
Second.
there you go.
Sorry, who was the number? Yeah, Andrew, second is great.
Okay. Well, I'll wait till Dave's done there. You ready? Okay, so here's where things move around a little bit. So now we have an opening here, right, for the second vice president. We have an opening for the second vice president. Do we have any nominations for the second vice president?
How about them?
I get the motion. Second.
Yes, okay. You want to,
I understand where I'm at.
yeah, good. Okay,
You can get nominated for more than one position.
No.
all right. So we have, what do we do? Do we come back to this or we leave it open for the,
The nominating committee has to go to work.
yeah, so we're gonna, all right, so the second vice president, okay. Hold that thought, we'll come back to that.
No, this is not there. We can't see the people on Zoom.
Wait, I'm sorry, say,
We can't see the people on Zoom.
oh, we cannot see the,
Yeah, well, there's 20 people out there.
oh,
I would
Well-
say, go down the list and pick the third and fifth spot. Or by alphabetical.
all right, we'll have to work on, oh, I see, I opened, oh, yeah, there are a lot of people here. Yes, go ahead.
Al.
Okay,
I think he's on Zoom.
hey, Al, are you there?
Yeah,
We're
I was on
talking
Zoom.
about you.
Hello, this is Al. Hello, over.
Excellent.
Elected.
Yeah, he's elected.
Just ask if he accepts the nomination.
Okay, so this is a,
If he accepts the
do
nomination.
you accept the nomination for the second vice president of the Hazel Park Amateur Radio Club?
You know, let me sleep on it. I'll let you know.
We'll take that as a yes. We're not voting, no, only nominating. All right. And then we got a whole campaign season ahead of us. We'll buy network television advertising time. Don't ask. All right. Then we have our first vice president, Len, 88FK. What a great.
I nominate Len second.
But not, okay, so we have a nomination by by Les and Andrew for the second thing. And then, here we go. What a sharp guy this is, huh? So
twist your arm again?
so, okay, I mean, we got, I mean, anybody,
I nominate Joe.
excellent, thank you.
Back out now.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, I'll tell you, this is one of the best things happened to me since, I love it. It's not easy, but if it was, someone else would be doing it, right? But terrific. Okay, I accept the nomination.
Sorry, so it was nominated by Ken, who's the second?
Wes.
Thank you.
All righty. There we go. Wes, you could have gone for another 10 minutes, I guess, but we're.
Okay, as a note,
Okay.
nominations will also be open during the beginning of the May meeting also. So,
Okay, so let me say that again. So again, when we meet again in May, before we start the actual election process, we will open up nominations one more time, one last time. And seriously, think, if you want to get involved in the club, it's a great way to do it. And a lot of really fine members we have. So we'd love to have you on the team here.
Hey,
All
Joe,
right.
it's your computer. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we do. Go ahead.
Hey, this is Al. I'm curious, wasn't there a motion supposed to be put into play today about the alternative logo design in the QSL card that was incorporated with it?
yes.
There was, right. Oh, yeah.
All right, I'll make a
Yeah.
motion to accept the design by Al as an alternative approved logo for use in the club literature or online. Anybody want to second that?
Okay, Dave and Les and a couple other hands second that. Okay.
All right, now have your vote, Joe.
Do you have a slide on that?
We do have.
So we can see it, but you can't really vote on it without that.
What's that?
Yeah.
We need to see it.
Then we need to see it. And I do have it.
Yeah, you should have a
I
copy.
do somewhere.
Let's see what it is.
While he's pulling it up, can I just ask really quick, sorry, the nomination for parliamentarian was Hugh, nominated by Ken, who was the second?
You could put Andrew.
Thank you.
I'm just looking here, see what I can come up with. Hold on.
Boy, this may be turning out the first time I've ever made a motion that actually got voted on.
So there we are. Okay, so this is this has evolved over the years in terms of that. We have the other one that we had on the other as well. And so what are we doing with this? We're
Voting to approve use.
we're voting for
I made a motion for it to be approved as an alternative official design for use on paper or internet.
Hey, Joe, I'd like to can I show him the QSL card design? Do you want to see that?
Yes, please,
not?
go ahead. Yeah. Can you take,
Okay.
can we share?
You can share. Just go ahead. Just go ahead, Al.
Okay.
We're not seeing Al.
Well, it's coming up. There it is.
Hold
Can
on.
you see,
Zoom screen on that's right now.
can you see that?
It's right there.
What am I doing?
Nothing. Just look at the screen. Look at the screen on your the big screen.
Yeah, you gotta move the Zoom screen with Al's screen onto the big screen.
See, I don't see Al's. Oh, I see, because it's totally minimized. Oh, got it. Okay, there we. Oh, that's beautiful. All right, but hold on. Let's let everybody see it. Bear with me a minute.
No, that's the front side. Let me know when you want to see the back.
Well, we're voting on the emblem, so.
Yeah. Hold on. There, your full screen. There we go. Oh, wow, that's nice.
That's Right, the QSL card, you guys can use it for your contesting, for sending to new hams that check in to the weekly net. But, I think you guys have another card designed for Net 3000. That's fine. So there's the front and here's the back side of it where you put all your information on it.
Nice, very nice.
Wow.
Really cool.
This picture, somebody working the field day in the park last year with a nice backlit of the tent. Must have been a hot evening. Looks like a beautiful sky though. And then there's all the copy, the text at the top talks about the club, and you can scan that QR code with your phone, and it'll take you to the club's website, so you can get more information or hopefully become a member if that ever gets up and connected again. So I know you're in the process of trying to make it work again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh, that's.
And he's
these
got
are
the
terrific.
Echo Link and the All-Star and all that down at the bottom. I like that. I like it.
There's the front
Excellent.
again, bunch of
All right.
pictures.
Nice. Nice.
Okay.
Well done. Well done.
All right. So now we're
All
voting
right.
on the emblem.
So are we voting on this or no? We don't have
Yes.
to vote on it.
Got to vote.
Oh,
I made a motion to approve this as an alternative emblem to use for club, any kind of club paperwork or online.
Okay, and we have a second in the back. David seconds it. Okay. All,
Now the people online,
all in favor?
the people
All in
online, you can
favor?
go to the people online, you can go to react down at the bottom and raise your hand.
Oh.
I think. I've never done this before. Okay, there we go. 2 others, so there's 3 so far. 4.
How do we do this? Raise your hand?
Yeah, but you don't need to because you're on site.
Okay.
I guess. So what about us in here?
All right, so there's 4. I see 4 online that voted yes.
4 online, and then we have in person, we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
5 online.
So we have a majority. Do we have to count each one? I mean, I could.
No, you don't have to. You just need to count them.
We have a majority.
Yeah, 5 online.
Nice. Very nice. Nice artwork there.
Thanks, Al.
Okay.
Yep, thank you, Al.
My pleasure.
See, and I've already been using
All right. Do we have any other business to attend to here tonight? Anybody? I see a hand coming up. Mike?
Yeah, for the zero beat, can I borrow your zero beat for a moment? On the zero beat, which is it's posted on the on our website. On the very last page here of it, there's a box that says, "Tell us about it." What I would love is I would love to have a list, a whole page of what we're doing. You did 162 QSOs at a PODA last week. You did that. You built an antenna. You did. I don't care if it's a sentence or if you want to write an article about what you did. I'd like to know what the club's doing. I'd like to know what you're doing and get it in here. So send it to me. November 8th, Victor Delta Zulu @outlook.com. That's also the email that if you go to our member list in the website, that's the email that if you send me an email, click in there, that's where it'll go. So send me stuff so I can get it in our newsletter. We can share with each other what we're doing and what's going on. If you go on vacation and you take your radio with you, what'd you do? Anything you did radio-wise, share it.
And there's one other aspect of the zero beat, by the way. It's also the historical record of the club. We collect all the zero beats. So as we document our activities going forward, generations from now, I mean, we can look back on the guys a generation ago and you go through the zero beats, gone through a lot of different changes. It looks better now than it ever did since Mike's taken it over, and but it's a great document. So
Joe,
2-minute warning. All right, we have the 2-minute warning here. So Ed, do we have any other comments? And Mike, thanks for all the work you do on that. Wes, go ahead, yes.
Yeah, 15 seconds. A week party, noon to midnight, HF bands, sideband and CW. It's a lot of fun. Everybody wants to talk to you.
Oh, right, the Michigan, okay. All right, on that, happy note there, I guess I don't have the screen right now, but I will click or bang the gavel, 1, 2, 3. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you for showing up both in person, online, and come back next month, and we'll have the culmination of the election season. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.